Well, boys and girls, we got her launched. I ain't got a freaking clue how we're gonna get her back. Look at two ways. Not a whole lot of people gonna do that. Not a whole lot of people gonna come to this ramp because it doesn't open till 8. So we got to water it ourselves for the most part. Now, let's just hope it's worth it. I really hope it's worth it. Tiny part of me hopes it's not. That stuff's not easy. We're out on Lake Norman. Well, I think the 4th stop of the Hobie BOS. Maybe it's 3rd. I'd have to look. It's our first time out without the motor on the Recon. And the first time using the pedal drive. We started in the back of a creek that's really shallow. So right now, I don't even know if I can use the pedal drive yet. Well, looks like it. All right. So it is first weekend of April. Today's the 4th, I think. See, I've got a buzzbait tied on. We're in a really, really flat area. I really like a buzzbait in a really flat area. It doesn't matter how early in the year, because if the fish are up here shallow, all they have to do is lift their head to come up after a buzzbait. It's not like being out in the main lake with normal topwater. Same thing applies to a buzzbait as does a spinnerbait. You try to get as close to that cover as possible. Something like a laydown, you want to bring it parallel down the side of that laydown. So far, I'm not doing a good job of this morning. Really feel like the spinnerbait's gonna be more of the thing to do. I just wanted to give this buzzbait a few casts first thing this morning. I don't know if you guys can see how shallow it is right here. The boat's stopped. So I'm just standing up hitting all these individual little pieces of wood. And it's so shallow it's hard to do with a buzzbait. If you can take anything from this, I want you to understand that fish live here. Whether they are here right now, whether we catch a single fish live in areas like this. Even though you've only got that much water, you'll catch them with a sunburn on their back. And a lot of time, bigger fish. You might not have the numbers, but you're going to have the quality. When you're fishing a dock with a spinnerbait, or really any moving bait, you want to throw it parallel right down the side of the dock. Looking for bigger ones, but that gets the point. You're trying to run your spinnerbait right down, right underneath where that black floating dock is in the water. Those fish are right underneath, sitting there, waiting on something to come by. And you want your spinnerbait, crankbait, swim bait, whatever you prefer, be their only choice. Watercolor's a little clear out here, but by a little clear, it's still not, it's still exactly where I need it to be. See, like going around this dock right here, trying to hit the corner. Positioning, oh, so much different in the kayak. I've got so much more to get used to. Make a bad cast, get it back out of there. No reason. Swim back a bad cast. Don't eat me. I see a puppy. Look for that one, we'll call it 12 too. In a tournament, I'd call it. morning, boys and girls. We're out for another practice day on Lake Norman with Hobie BOS. Yesterday we caught some fish, nothing, no size. So today we're in a little bit clearer water. I'm starting out throwing out a coal shad. Kind of got a late start this morning. Trying to see if I can get any type of reaction bite, but we got this cold front that's moved through. Bluebird skies. We had a little bit of rain yesterday, but it's going to be pretty much sun for the entire weekend. So it's going to be a tough bite. Water is in the upper 50s. I'm starting out with a jig, trying to get a jig bite. I pretty much have a game plan for tomorrow. I've got a location, it's got a lot of spots on it. So what I'm really concentrating on is how to figure out how to pick up a kicker, hopefully around these docks. The key to flipping is the soft entry. And for me to be able to do that, the brake setup is the main thing. I don't have it. Yes, it takes a little while to get used to. But you want to keep the bait when it's pendulum and out. Pendulum and then pendulum. When it goes in an arc, you try to keep as close to the water as possible. That way, when it gets to the end of its arc, you can set it right down in the water and there's barely any splash. But for a long time, I was trying to do it set up with a certain amount of brakes. And a friend of mine finally taught me. You've got a heavy enough bait. This is a 3/8 ounce jig. My reel is completely smooth. I've got it oiled really well. That's key. Then I have my brakes completely off all the way around. The turnstile brake, or the spool brake, as you turn it until the spool stops moving back and forth, and then turn it just a little bit back where you can get a little bit of movement in the spool. That loosens it up to the max amount. And then your side, your main brake here, you turn it all the way down. Takes a lot of practice. My daughter's 24 now. We started practicing flipping into one of her little mini kitchens in the living room when she was like 3 years old. Now she catches fish flipping. You want that bait to fall straight down. Crawfish are normally around rocks. So rocks naturally is the best place to fish a jig. That's what you get fishing a jig. That's what I needed to see. 18 1/4. You guys probably see it better than I did, but I pitched over here. My line was over here. So immediately I knew there was a fish on it because that's not where I threw. Reeled down, hammered the hook back, so we got a good hook set. That's enough fishing here. All right, so we just caught that 18 1/4 on the rip wrap, and we were back in a pocket. So now I'm gonna move out here. I don't want to catch my fish in a pocket, but I like to come out here closer to the main and see if there's any fish out here on the rip wrap. There are. Okay. So I have a braid to fluorocarbon leader. It's the first time I've ever used it on a bait caster. Obviously I did something wrong. All right, so when you fish a dock, you saw what I just did. You're gonna have to be right on the dock, or not. Okay. So today, apparently, it's a pretty easy day to catch fish. I should not have caught that fish. When you're fishing docks, you want your bait right beside the dock. You don't want them to have to come out and get it. Today, their strike window is this big, apparently, where what I would expect on a Bluebird Sky Day is for it to be this big. So you've got to get right up against it. You want your bait to land, don't see this, right beside the dock, just like that. Now, you don't want to be right up on it when it happens. But anything you're fishing, the spinner bait, you want it to come right down the side of the dock, right below where the black, make sure you can see that. This is pretty clear water. But you can see right below the black floats. You want your spinner bait to run right down the side of that, crankbait, whatever. And same thing with your jig or your drop shot or shaky head, you want it to fall right down beside the dock. All right, that's 2 on a drop shot, so that shows me we can catch them on a drop shot. There's gonna be a lot of fish caught in this tournament, apparently. A lot more than I expected. It looks like the jig is what I need for the big bite. Spotted bass like a drop shot. They like a shaky head. They like a jig. You will catch the bigger ones with the jig. These fish are up shallow. They want to be spawned. Dragging the shaky head across the point, just filling the rocks on the bottom. So I switched out my line in between moving. I went to a 15-pound fluorocarbon instead of the braid with a 15-pound fluorocarbon later. Let's put it on the straight. Time of year when they're about to spawn, the back part of these docks be really good. So that's where I try to concentrate on first. You see, that bigger fish we caught this morning was right up against the red wrap. So it's kind of the same thing. They want to be really shallow. They don't all spawn really shallow. And these floating docks, I will say it again, that is the best. They hold heat. It's covered directly on the water. So if I had to choose between fishing this small little floating dock and that's all versus flipping this under here, then I'm going to pick the floater first. Now I'm going to fish it. There's definitely fish under there. But I feel like the best chance is up against the floater. Trying to stay on the shaded side. I think the fish on the shaded side are going to be a little bit more active. Ropes. Always watch out for ropes. Golly. It's real bad real quick. You can't get a hook out of a rope. Especially in the wind. Okay, it's a big old fat rope. They didn't have nothing for me. How hard it is not to stare in the camera? I just look back to make sure it's still working. You learn to control the drift of your kayak by turning your rudder. Got a bite. Just tapped it. Could have been bluegill. Look at the size of that sucker right there. Yep. That's a jig fish right there. And a half. That's a good one. That's a good one. Well, boys and girls, we're cutting this thing short. I've got no reason to stay out here and continue to catch fish. I'm understanding what they're doing. They're more back in the pockets because they're wanting to be up here spawning. All right, talk a little bit about practice. 3/4 ounce Dave's Tournament Tackle Jig. It's the jig I have more confidence in than any other jig. In fishing, confidence is the biggest thing. Can I catch these fish on some other jig? Absolutely. But in my career, I've won more money fishing this jig than anything else. So why would I want to fish something else? I have the confidence in this jig. So that means I will throw it. Whereas I go get something else, or I'm throwing something else that I'm not used to that I haven't caught fish on, chances are I'm not going to keep it in my hand very long. If I don't catch fish the first 10 casts, why am I going to keep casting? That's how you feel if you don't have confidence. This jig, I can put it in my hand and I can cast it all day long because I know I can get 5 bites on this jig. As far as the trailer, I'm using a Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Crawl. What I want in my trailer is for when it's coming down, these little legs be flapping. Slows it down just a little bit, lets the fish see it, and that Ultra Vibe Speed Crawl from Zoom does the job. Also, using Bang. Hold on a second. Nope, I'll put it in here. Walk away for nothing. I'm also using Bang. Crawfish sand. I learned this years and years and years ago fishing the BFL as a co-angler from a very outstanding jig fisherman. So, I don't know, $6 or $7 maybe. Someplace, they may went up now. I'm getting old, so maybe $10. Worth every cent. $9.29. Worth every penny. So we only fished about 11:30 today. You guys saw the fish that I caught. Now I have the confidence to go out tomorrow and I can throw a jig the entire day and know that I can catch fish on it. That's all I'm looking for in practice. I'm going to throw jigs around docks. I'm going to throw a jig around riprap. And I'm going to keep myself back in the creeks, in the pockets inside the creeks. That's the pattern so far that I figured out. So it's a little different than being in a bass boat. A bass boat, I would literally run pocket to pocket, pocket to pocket to pocket. Kayak, I can't do that. I can't go as fast. So I will move myself between those pockets, casting my jig, but I won't spend as much time on the outer side of the pockets as I will once I get in the pocket. Once I get in the pocket, I'm going to pick every dock apart. I'm going to pick apart all the riprap, everything, every stick, everything I see, because that's what you have to do when you're in a kayak to make sure you get bites.